25 points and 10 assists in the most effortless fashion. And the best shots, Erik.
Your sound went down.
Please enjoy this feature presentation of the Crooked River Radio Network. This program is rated for all audiences.
The Nanosecond podcast is sponsored by CrookedRiverRadio.com. Do you find yourself endlessly searching for something to listen to while you're doing housework, working, or tending all your daily chores?
Welcome to the Nanosecond podcast. With your hosts, Erik Nannarone, Nick Goglioni, and Pat Morrow. Interesting topics, intriguing conversation, and entertainment. Erik, Nick, and Pat will be right with you.
Hello and welcome to the Nanosecond podcast. I'm Erik. And
I'm Pat. Oops. That was one of those oopsies.
Did not have your mic on there?
Oopsie.
Yeah. We're off to a great start. Today, we have Tyler Danburg from Scarlet and Gray Radio. Tyler, how are you?
I'm doing great, Erik and Pat. It's great to see you guys. Last time we talked, it was before the Michigan game, and obviously the results did not fare, in the way that I think we all had predicted, but there's a lot to look forward to in Columbus, especially after the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. Let's quickly before we get into football, let's get into kind of what we were talking about off the air. The game you got to cover, the Iowa-Ohio State women's basketball, and getting to see the number one player. She's number one player in the country, right?
Yeah, and you know what, guys? Like when it's all said and done, she could be the greatest to ever do it. Like it was really refreshing, I think, to see. There were a lot of. First off, the Ohio State crowd showed up. There was a lot of Scarlet, and largest crowd in the history of Value City Arena for an Ohio State women's basketball game. But it was equally as cool to see, all the aspiring, women's basketball players in those Caitlin Clark T-shirts, all on hand to watch that game. She inspires so many, and you see it everywhere she goes. And we were talking off air, Erik, about just some of the shots that she was creating and making. 45 points, 10 assists. It's generational.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't even imagine. Like, I've gone to a couple of the Kent State women's games this year. I couldn't even imagine being lucky enough to see that.
Very, very grateful. And Kent State, they're a solid program too. Kent State, Cleveland State's had a good little run in the Horizon League, so we got a lot of good women's basketball on the Buckeye State.
Mm-hmm. I think Kent's third in the MAC, actually. But were you going to say something, Pat?
No, just that it sounded like the female LeBron James when he was young.
Describe him.
I would agree with you, Pat. The amount of build-up surrounding Caitlin Clark, the hype. You can compare her at Iowa to LeBron at St. Vincent St. Mary's. There is a reason why gyms everywhere the Hawkeyes go are packed, and it's because of number 22. And you know what? They've got a good team as well. That's a really good team that the number 18 Buckeyes defeated, and I think Ohio State showed a lot of people as to why they could be playing in the Final Four in Cleveland come late March, early April.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I actually live, the reason I brought for the LeBron James reference, I live about maybe 10 minutes away from St. V's, and there was a lot more that went on locally as he was growing up than you actually heard on the the national and local, even the local news. You know, I watched him one afternoon. He'd come out and he did a dribble for something or other where you're supposed to just bounce a basketball from Talmadge Circle to St. V's parking lot. And, of course, I watched him get, I saw this, I didn't know what was going on at the time, but I saw this bus pull in, had McDonald's plastered. I thought it was promotional. This guy jumps off this bus. I'm 6'4", and I had to look up at him. And I'm like, wow, you know, and greatness is like that, you know. It's just baffling how they can be so good, but they are.
Yep. So, getting into football, because I know you have limited time here. What do you think about the Bill O'Brien hiring?
Erik, I really did like the hire. You know, it gives this offense, which is going to have a lot of, you know, NFL ready talent. It's going to give them a pro style feel. And I mean, you look at Bill O'Brien from his time at Penn State. He won there at a time for the Nittany Lions where, you know, they were trying to bring that program back. He goes to Alabama. Well, he goes to the Texans. And, I mean, ultimately the front office stuff with trading DeAndre Hopkins, that might have gotten away. But the guy won in Houston, national champion at Alabama, developed some great quarterback talent there. I think that's going to be huge this year. And finding a play caller, too. I mean, there's still a lot up in the air with who's going to be calling the plays. But I mean, the fact that Bill O'Brien's there is going to be a major boost for this offense.
What do you think about the quarterbacks? Because they got multiple in the transfer portal.
Well, this has to be one of the best, if not the best, quarterback room in the country. Bringing in Will Howard, bringing in Julian Sand from Alabama, and then Aaron Noland, who's another highly touted quarterback prospect. Think of this. They have the top two quarterbacks in this coming class coming next year to Columbus. It's going to be a crowded quarterback room, but that's such a great problem to have. And I think it's going to bring out a healthy competition, a great battle. And I mean, you've got to be excited with what they're returning, what they're bringing in, what this team is capable of doing come September and beyond.
You know, there was rumor that after that Michigan game, I heard that the maddest person on that team in OSU was Dave. I heard that he swore that he was going to make this team better, and that it looks like he's doing it. What do you think about that?
I agree with you, Pat. I mean, he has definitely done that. I mean, he has realized there is a specific need for this program, and I think he addressed it immediately. I mean, he wasted no time bringing in a lot of these guys, and you can tell there's a certain sense of buy-in. And obviously, you don't know what happens until they hit the field, but you just have to at least be excited with the palpable buzz that this offseason has created. Because, I mean, after what happened in the end of the season and the result in the Cotton Bowl, like, there is a sour taste in the mouth of this entire fan base. But the fact that he was able to quickly get everybody on board again for this upcoming campaign so rapidly, I think says a lot.
I think that things are going to change next year, not because of what Day has done, but I think with Harbaugh going back to the NFL, I think that's going to be a whole different Michigan team over there. I guess
that's going to be really interesting to see, and I think Sherrone Moore is definitely he's definitely the answer. If Harbaugh were to go to the NFL, I mean, you would have to think that Sherrone Moore would be the guy to step in. Who knows? But he did a great job with what he had and being the interim head coach, I mean, he did great things for the Wolverines, and we'll see what happens with their program. I mean, there's going to be a lot of storylines in this upcoming college football season. Obviously, expanded playoff, so it's going to be fun.
Do you think there's a chance that Lincoln Keenholz transfers because of the backlog in the quarterback room?
That's going to be really interesting, guys. I mean, I really don't know. I mean, you wonder what's going to happen with this quarterback room because there are just so many guys. And, I think he got put in a really bad spot in the Cotton Bowl, obviously making your first college appearance maybe when you weren't expecting it. But he did have some throws that showed promise. There was still a lot that he could work on. But, I mean, there's no doubt about it. Like, he is an athlete, I think, is the biggest thing. And when you can be the all-time leading passer in your state, you can have a 400 batting average, 1.4 ERA, and average 20 points per game. There's no doubt that your athletic ability is going to give you the chance to play in some capacity at the college level. So we'll see with Keenholz.
Tyler, the one thing I wanted to ask you, as far as these bowl games, right? Don't you think the way this is structured now is going to lead to the demise of the bowl games? Because it's just like they're all trash. Yeah, just like Ohio State treated the Cotton Bowl. Sure, it's there. We're wanting to play. We're going to play. But everybody sees it and says, why? They need to restructure that thing. They really do.
I agree with you, Pat. And I think there is a hope for bowl season, and I'll tell you why. It's the Pop-Tarts Bowl, because they handled that effortlessly. People were talking about that bowl game more than some of the New Year's Six games because of the way they marketed it. The game was also actually really good, but I think the way that they marketed it was also incredibly crucial because I think that's going to be the recipe. If they can make these, lower tier bowl games more entertaining, people are going to watch, and I think the product's going to be the product. But how can they make these games even more enticing? I think that's going to be the key, at least in my opinion. But hopefully this expanded playoff format is going to make a lot of these higher tiered bowl games even more exciting.
Well, we can hope for that. I know I think I turned that game off I think I turned the game off at about the third quarter. I just wasn't going to sit there and watch them get beat. Mm-hmm. I'm that way anymore. Used to be, I'd watch, didn't matter if it was the Browns, you name it. I'd watch that thing all the way through. And now, at one point, I just decided if they're going to lose, I ain't going to watch. Because I ain't going to watch a loser. And what they did with that new quarterback, that was almost a shame. They didn't even give him anything. And, this was not a go through the motions type thing. This was an actual game. And it's a shame it had to turn out like it did.
Thank you, Tyler, for joining us. I saw your message in the chat.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about this some more later on, Tyler. Thanks for coming in.
And
we time with us.
Absolutely. And we'll talk some Browns, even some Cavs. I mean, they're playing incredible ball right now, even without Garland and Mobley, and maybe some Guardians too. So I look forward to. Thanks again, always, for having me on.
Yeah, just let me know when you could come on next. We're here every Tuesday.
Sounds great, Erik. See you guys.
Have a good week.
Thanks again, Tyler.
What's up, Evan?
Hey, I made it.
Yeah.
I had to take care of my stomach first, but hey, I heard most of what you guys were saying with Tyler. He's very insightful, and I think he's right about a lot of the things that he talked about with regard to OSU's program.
He said he at the beginning he only had about 10 or 15 minutes. That's why everything was kind of rushed. I did want to get as much in it that I wanted. There was 2 or 3 questions I had for him I wanted to know about. And I'm sure Erik was the same way.
Yeah.
That was, we do want to thank Tyler Danburg for taking the time to come in with us.
Yes.
Yep. And just to expand on what we were saying about the quarterback room, that's going to be unbelievable next year. You got 2 top or like 5-star quarterbacks out of their class transferring. Then you got a top quarterback coming in next year with Aaron Nolan. So between Howard, Sayin, and Nolan, it's going to be a great competition. Unbelievable. Because, not because, but like Sayin didn't get a huge amount of time playing behind Jalen Milrow at Alabama. But I think Sayin has a great shot at making or being the starter this year. So, but then what's your take on the Bill O'Brien hire, Evan?
Oh, me. I think it's probably a good idea. I think he did this stuff with Bill Belichick and the Patriots. Then, as you said, Penn State, and he did it and made both of those teams. Their offenses, were fairly dynamic. Now, in fairness, the Patriots had some guy named Tom Brady who helped make a lot of that stuff happen. But I think it's a very good hire. The defense wasn't terrible. I mean, let's be honest here. How often did we see them falter? I think it was the Michigan game. I think that was the only time we really saw them struggle. I mean, the offense certainly was able to keep up, the rest of the season. The only game that I remember where we thought we might have any kind of challenge was that game we hosted against Western Kentucky, and of course, they were obviously no match for us. But I'd say that having Bill O'Brien in the fold is a good deal.
Yeah, I agree. I was shocked that he would kind of make a lateral move, I guess, from the NFL to college for the same position, but I don't have a problem with it. If he can help Ryan Day maybe take the play calling over, because why would he have come here and not been promised the play calling? Because that would be stupid.
Yeah.
Because especially knowing that New England needs help offensively, because Gerard Mayo is a defensive guy. So, I don't know. Good hire, though.
So are we turning to NFL football now?
Sure. Yeah, we can.
Okay.
So, the Browns, as we kind of talked about last week, I think. Did that happen early enough last week?
2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. They fired some assistant coaches.
Oh, the firings was this week.
Yeah, that just happened a few days back.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
Okay.
So I didn't remember if we had been on the air since then. But they fired their running backs coach, their tight ends coach, and their offensive coordinator, the most important one that I almost forgot. So, / quarterback coach. So technically they fired 4 positions and 3 guys. They're bringing in, or they're going to interview Jared Jones, who was the quarterback coach in Houston. My brain is not working tonight. Great. So he was in today. They brought in and are about to hire Tommy Reese. Name might sound familiar. He was the Notre Dame quarterback for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And he's coached for like 2 years, I think. So he doesn't have a ton, but he's gonna probably be the new tight ends coach. I don't know.
Now, what are we going to do about the OC?
That's where that quarterback coach from the Texans is gonna come in. I think he's gonna be the OC and the quarterback coach because I don't see Kevin giving up play calling. You know, I just don't see. Sadly, I don't think his ego will let him. Where do you guys stand on that?
Do you
Probably true. That's, I mean, I think, wasn't that part of the arrangement that he had when he joined the Browns, was he was going to be able to call his own plays? I thought that was part of it. I mean, that's what head coaches want these days as part of their negotiating. You know, when they have a job that they are looking for, they want to be able to call the plays that they want. And usually that becomes a part of a contract negotiation. And I'm sure that that's exactly where Kevin Stefanski is right now. I mean, unless he is so terrible at play calling, and it's obvious that the offense is regressing, the Haslam's are probably going to give him free rein and say, okay, Kevin, you run the offense the way you see fit. We'll keep paying you. And that's probably where things are going to be unless something, major happens, which I don't see happening right now. I mean, the offense seems to be okay. I mean, we thought we had a great defense, and obviously it turned out not to be that way, at least in this situation. And so,
well,
I would think they would consider Chad O'Shea the receivers coach if they're for sure not gonna give, or Kevin Stefanski's not gonna give up play calling. Why would they not have just boosted the receivers coach who was getting interviews last year for offensive coordinator positions? Why would they not have boosted him to OC and just hired within if the new person wasn't going to get some say in play calling?
all right, I want to take and dissertate here a minute.
Okay.
The ridiculous. I didn't agree with any of those three firings except for Van Pelt. I thought he was pretty much useless here.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to try to take and it's that old thing. You can put lipstick on a pig and attach tits to a pig, but it's still a pig. It's not anything else. It's still a pig. The simple fact of it is, Van Pelt, I don't feel, was doing very much here. He really didn't have the talent around him to actually make him useful. You had Joe Flacco in here. What he did with DTR and that other idiot that kept hitting people in the foreheads with the ball whenever
Walker, PJ Walker.
Walker, yeah. And he didn't have the talent there. And when you were getting beat up like we did, you just didn't have the talent. And they were lucky. This year they were pretty much similar to what Pittsburgh was. They grabbed the ball, turned backwards, did a leap of faith, and ended up into the first round of the playoffs where they got eliminated. Mm-hmm. I still, that game pretty much pissed me off. There was three things there that was wrong. There was defensive line problems. You got the best defensive coach in the league. Until you get to the 20-yard zone, the 20-yard line, and then they went from first to 27th or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They were 26th or 27th in the red zone. And what? How do you deal with this?
I mean, then sorry to cut you off, but to add to what you're saying, their home and road splits for defense. They were top in the league at home. They were 32nd in the league on the road.
The thing of it is, there's an old saying, Erik, that I've followed for most of my life in football. The first thing a team's got to do to achieve greatness is learn how to win at home. Once they win at home, then they have to learn how to win on the road. That's what's happening with the Browns, if it's not rigged, and anything else. There is so much that's apparent. You'd almost swear this was worldwide wrestling. There is so much that looks so flippin'.
Mm-hmm.
You got between the referees, the defense, and the actual play calling and that. And where I thought the biggest problems with that last game was Flacco laid 2 eggs. He showed us what he thought about us. He really did. Didn't you guys get that from that? You threw 2 interceptions. It's almost like we had Baker here. I watched that Tampa Bay game the other night, and I'm going, oh yeah, this is typical Bake Show. This is typical Bake Show. Let's watch him screw up. He goes to pass. The game's on the line. He passes, intercepted. End of the game. Typical Bake Show.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I understand, that could have been typical Flacco. To throw 2 interceptions, back to back? I mean, come on. How often is that going to happen outside of the NFL? If you were playing and it wasn't rigged.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
I'm going to tell you
conspiracies.
The way that this looks and the way this is going to turn out, you're going to see. And I swear, I've been predicting this for 6 weeks now. It's going to be San Francisco and the Ravens. And I'll bet you the Ravens win.
The conspiracy with that is the colors of the logo. It's the San Francisco colors and Baltimore colors.
Did you see that confetti thing? You were the one that sent me that confetti thing. What?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, they're getting ready for that. All right.
Oh yeah, there's a commercial that's gonna air Super Bowl Sunday for Doritos or something like that. But that they open the bag and confetti comes out of the bag, the chip bag, and the confetti is purple and red, or whatever color the San Francisco is. So they're saying that the league worked with Doritos or whoever the chip company was that made that commercial to mostly give away the fact that it's.
I can't say, and I'm not a professional, never have been, never will be, but I'm a guy that's watched a lot of football over 40 or 50 or 60 years, and I've never seen it to appear like it's been rigged like it is now. And I'm going to tell you the truth. If it comes out, and it'll have to hit, you look in the past, you've had Deflategate, you've had some of the other sports things that have, even worldwide, or the WWE coming out and saying their games were all rigged, or their matches. And all of a sudden, it brought them a huge audience. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. Would you actually sit and watch the Ravens and the Browns play when you knew the Ravens were going to win?
Hey, Pat, want to mention your trivia? Sorry to cut you off. I know I've been bad about that today, but do you want to ask the trivia question so people can kind of think about it?
Give me a second to cool off here.
Okay.
All right. I was searching for material for another show, and I'm thumbing through my phone, and all of a sudden this trivia question pops up, and I thought, man, that's pretty good. I'll bet nobody knows the answer to that. Trivia question, and we'll give the answer at the end of the show. Give you all time to think about it. If you want to text us, Erik will give you the text number once we get the question out. The trivia question was, what TV show was the first one to actually show on TV that they owned a home computer? Got an idea, Ev?
I'm going to let my brain rack over this until I hear the answer.
Now, you're not allowed to look this up on the internet because you could probably find it, but not a big deal.
Yeah.
But what family show was the first to actually own and show on TV a home computer? I think that there's 1,000,001 answers to this, but I think you're going to really be surprised when you're going to have one of those uh-oh moments when you find out. Huh? Oh, all right, yeah.
I also have a question for you, Pat, to do with this. Would it be a violation if we, like, when we're giving the answer, use the theme song for like 10 seconds?
No, I don't want to do that.
Okay.
Because the streaming companies that do our podcast would cut that off.
Okay.
I hate to say that, and it'd take a while to dig it up anyway. Although I think I probably got that in my repertoire. But yeah, think about that while we dissertate again. What else are we going to cover?
So, you mentioned WWE, and we'll probably get back to the Browns, but I wanted to mention this because I thought it was interesting. Their WWE Raw is now going to be
on Netflix.
Specifically over on Netflix. So, what do you guys think about all this stuff all of a sudden going not just streaming, but specifically Netflix, because they had, I forget what live event, some award ceremony, and they had so many problems with the live broadcast that it ended up having to be tape delayed, I think, by like hour and a half, 2 hours. Like, what do you guys think about specifically Netflix all of a sudden jumping in to WWE? And do you think maybe somebody else should have, like Peacock, Amazon, or Apple TV?
Yeah,
should have taken.
I think they're headed the way of Sirius the Sirius radio.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this stuff is headed that way. They're gonna. I don't see why they don't have their own channel on Netflix or somewhere like that, or you can just tune in and watch an episode or whatever you want to do. That seems a good place for them.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I mean, I feel like out of the streaming services, though, Netflix is. It used to be the top, but I don't think it's the top anymore. I think Amazon and Apple have taken over that. It maybe even Peacock. I'll have to pull up the stats on that, but I think those other three are above. Oh, before I continue, if you want to text in your answer, text 234-281-4431 for the trivia question. But I think Netflix is kind of dropped in the order of the streaming services, like popularity wise. What do you guys think?
Well, we still have it here. I think. I don't watch very much on any. I've actually watched more on Amazon Prime and the Roku box than I have anything else. And that's just because there's movies over there that I want to see. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me to buy into some of this stuff. I've got the Hulu channel, and I think I've watched 2 things on it. Yeah, I'm going to probably end up dropping a lot of that stuff. I just got to get the time to get over here and do it.
Oh yeah, and the one I forgot on the list is Hulu. So I think, and technically I didn't list Disney, so I think Netflix is probably number 5 if you rate the top. Okay, apparently according to this, they're still number 1, but that shocks me because Hulu is so big, and if you get Hulu, most likely you get Disney Plus because the bundle that it comes with one you get the other. So I would think Hulu and Disney would be above Netflix, and eventually once Netflix, I think, starts producing live programming, they're gonna drop.
Yeah, I've really gotten into trying to figure out what I'm going to drop and what I'm not, because these cable places are going up, and anybody that's got the senior discount that Warner offered as of last April, or Spectrum offered as of last April, it's supposed to cut off at the end of April now because it's not funded. So that's going to add another $30 to the bill, and that'll be something else I'm going to have to cut. Yeah. I'm tired of paying these outrageous bills.
And honestly, like we've talked about 1,000 times, these cable companies are so ridiculous because they're so many cable and satellite, because the feuds that they have with the station owners, like look with DirecTV and Tegna. Luckily, they got back like an hour and a half before the Browns and Houston game, but there's been so many of those in the last year that made these networks go out for months. People are getting sick of that.
The thing that made them come back, there wasn't no settlement over the money. I'd put money on that. They settled because of the amount of people that were pressuring them to get that game on, and look what it got them.
I think you just pointed out something there is just when pressure is brought to bear, these companies will finally settle. Now, as far as Netflix entering this fray, I say lots of luck. I've had a chance to watch Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime. I have a subscription through the family, so I can watch it that way. There, I think I may have talked about this before, but I felt that their production values are the same as the conventional broadcast channels. ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox. They look the same. The only thing that I can see that is different about the Amazon broadcast is they have a tendency, since they are effectively producing the whole thing themselves, they put in a lot of extra segments. What they'll do is it's like the pregame show on CBS, Fox, and ESPN. It's like it isn't broken up separately. It's like a continuous program, even though it's labeled, as okay, this is our pregame, and all right, here's the actual game, and then we have our halftime break, and then we do a post-game show. It seems like, at least with Amazon, it's one continuous kind of a program. And if you were to look at the there is a timer that pops up whenever you click on the stream signal for Amazon's Thursday Night Football. You'll see that there are so many hours that are allotted for it. So it's like it's one continuous stream. Now, I don't know if Netflix has really, they don't sound like they have a lot of experience in doing these kinds of live performances. And as you just said, Erik, the last time they tried to do something, that was a complete disaster, and it had to be tape delayed. So if they're going to do this, this WWE Raw live, they're going to have to make sure that they can produce a good product, because people are not going to sit around and tolerate lower grade broadcasts. I worked with a guy years ago who previously had worked for WWE. He was one of the cameramen for it, and they have a particular standard. And I hope that Netflix has taken it upon themselves to bring some veterans that have done these kinds of broadcasts before, so they can fix these problems before they become a real issue. It occasionally you lose a signal. I mean, we've probably seen broadcasts of Browns games or other football games where the satellite that was supposed to be sending the signal out couldn't distribute, and we couldn't see the video. We could probably hear the audio. Those kinds of problems happen occasionally, but Netflix is going to have to show that they can do this, or I think that WWE will take its business somewhere else. They know they're a very profitable enterprise there, and they don't really have to tolerate anything that is less than quality. And I would hope that the management of WWE had done some research and said, all right, Netflix, we think you can handle it. Show us you can. And I think that I'm going to be interested to see how it turns out as far as their ratings, versus what they were doing previously on USA Network. So see what happens.
The guy who's the lead producer for Prime he's a 10-time Emmy Award winner. So that's why it's so good, because he knows how to produce Emmy Award winning broadcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the other thing you got to consider here, and Evan, you didn't mention this, is that a lot of the commercials that are on those games aren't paid for or have nothing to do with payment for Peacock or whoever's covering the game. Mm-hmm. And what I think is what I think is happening, and I've seen it a couple of times with the Prime, they start putting their own commercials in there, and that's very profitable for them, and that's probably how they're covering the fees for covering the broadcast. You know, I think it's like the local things do around here. You know, you have so many minutes devoted to the whatever affiliate, and then your local takes over for a minute or so and runs their own commercial, like a news at 6 and that kind of thing, and then it switches back over. Well, I kind of think these other places are doing just that. I think they're taking and doing they're putting their own commercials in instead of running what is in place on the other one.
Yeah, I've actually seen occasionally where there might be just what you've said, and these are other programs. You know, this is not sports related. It would be you have that little block of time that the local affiliates would normally run their commercials. Occasionally, if whoever is in master control doesn't make the switch in time, you see what was being sent out over the satellite to the affiliates rather than those local commercials. You know, so it's like that. And I also think that one of the things that Amazon is probably doing that doesn't necessarily occur with the broadcast networks is they can. I was just watching a YouTube discussion on this. I follow a gentleman who is an insider in the broadcast field, and he talks to people that are technical personnel. And this one fellow that he was interviewing on his YouTube channel had said that there are certain networks, specifically overseas, where the work that is normally done in a satellite truck can be done from home, from where we are right now, at a desk. If you just have the right equipment and your internet connection is sufficient, you can do those kinds of things. And that may be some of how Netflix is going to be able to pull this off. They may not necessarily have all their staff on site because there would be a cost involved with bringing people in to work the broadcast, versus having them stay at home and produce it that way. And as a matter of fact, that was part of what happened during COVID. It allowed the broadcasters to change the way they did things. And what the broadcasters found out is that they could do some of these productions remotely. Now, that in this case, the guy was talking about, he's worked in both different environments. He's worked in a live production truck versus having a crew that is spread out all over the place. Not in one central location. There might be an audio guy in Seattle, and this guy is based in Madison, Wisconsin, and he's directing the show. And he has a graphics person who is in, let's say, Kansas City or something like that. So I'm thinking that's what Netflix has in mind, is that they're going to do some of these broadcasts remotely, and the people that need to be there to cover the events will be, for the most part, the only ones that are going to be there. So, but I'm going to be interested to hear, how this production comes together and what it looks like. I mean, I have a vague idea what WWE looks like. I've peeked at it over the years. I haven't.
So, just to give you an idea, according to Andrew Martian from the New York Post, he's a sports media writer, it's going to be a 10-year deal.
Okay.
Starting in January of 25. The WWE Network is going to run on Peacock till the end of March. This guy is a really good follow when it comes to sports media. Like I said, Andrew Marchand. He actually has a podcast. It's on all the podcasting networks, or podcasting distributing places like Apple and stuff like that. But yeah, okay. I thought there was gonna be more, but no, there's not.
Well, a lot of the technology that you're talking about is on stuff that they can get for next to nothing as far as producing your graphics and stuff like that. There's really nothing to that. I would have it here if I could afford it. But what it comes down to, there's a lot of stuff you can do with these things. You can take and it's just simple. You've actually got I've got a broadcast studio right here, and anybody can have one. If I want to take and switch scenes or whatever, I just reach down here and if I want to go from showing myself to just showing Erik, I just do that quick.
Mm-hmm.
And if I want to put a graphic over top of it, I just key up on the graphic and go over top of it. It's really not a whole lot to that stuff. And if I can do it here, you can bet sure they'd be able to do that with a live broadcast, because basically that's what we're doing here. The COVID did a lot. COVID did a whole lot for the work at home industry.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, it's biting them in the rear end now because of the fact that you're able to do so much with, a Zoom call. If you were just think of still using Skype, where you'd have to have the phone calls and all that garbage. Now we got Zoom. I can bring people in here and they look just like just like they're sitting here. There's not much to it. It's almost amazing.
At first, like when I was doing another podcast at the beginning of COVID, I hated the idea of doing the remote podcast because it's hard, because even people listening today can tell that Pat and I aren't in the same room, because every once in a while I'll jump in and talk over Pat. I try not to. But it's kind of hard. I don't do it as much as I used to, but I still do it every once in a while because, we're in two different places.
Yeah.
So,
and I can't just reach over and Gibbs slap you.
Yeah.
Boy, that would be too tempting.
Yeah, I know.
But you know what I can do, Erik? Wait a minute. Wait for it.
Okay. Wait.
I can do this.
Waiting.
You keep using language like that, and you're going to find yourself out of a job.
You just need a sound that's just a pure slap.
I thought about that. I'm going to have to look for that. I've got several of those.
Yeah.
That and a whip crack.
Oh, that would be perfect.
I'm going to have a whip crack. I can get that.
Okay.
Next show.
Yep, definitely. But another thing, I don't know if I've ever brought this up on the air, but what do you guys think if one of these streaming services were to start picking up podcasting? Well, one, do you think that's possible? And do you think that would be a good thing for podcasters, or at least video podcasters?
Well, you just said a key word there. Video podcasters.
So us.
If you're going to take them and pick up a show, you should have some video to it.
Mm-hmm.
Or, nobody's going to sit and watch TV and just listen to a podcast.
No.
But, on the other hand, if somebody wants to do it live and do a live podcast like many people do for the radio, that's a whole nother story. And there's a lot of money in it, I would think, in that.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these podcasters that I've heard that do that are really pretty good. And,
Oh yeah.
But, the thing that limits a lot of them is that fact that they're on the internet, but they're not governed by the Federal Communications Commission. And that's a whole different story, because you can't cuss. You come up with, you accidentally let the F word flip out or SOB or something like that. And
They'll just bleep you.
You'd be in some trouble there, but provided they didn't bleep you.
Yeah, they. That's why even with Bally's, now they run a podcast network and they, the people will record and post it out to their YouTube channel or whatever, and then Bally's will go through, edit, and then air it. Have you had a chance to watch any of the podcasts on Bally's yet? Either of you?
No.
I've seen a couple. Let me see. Who have I seen? Booby Gibson, from the Cavaliers. Yeah. He does one. I've seen him. That's fairly good, and he brings in the a couple of guys from the Cavaliers network. They have this funny name that they use now. I've listened on the radio, and they're calling themselves the Cavaliers Metaverse nowadays. It used to be a sponsor, and then you would hear the Cleveland Cavaliers Radio Network. And now it is the Metaverse, even if it's just a radio broadcast. But I've heard. Let me see who else. Bobby Carpenter, who is a former Buckeye. He does a podcast. A lot of former OSU players do one. Let's see here. Chimney Chukwa and Bryant Browning, they do one.
Greg and Blake Williams do one.
Yes. Bruce Drennan. I know that he retired from doing his show on what was then Fox Sports, Ohio, Great Lakes, and he does a podcast. I haven't heard him much, but I've heard the other ones. They're pretty good. They're generally pretty good. They're related to the topic that they're covering, and they don't really stray much beyond it. Typically, I think they run half an hour.
Half an hour to an hour. Yeah. I know Hanford Dixon has a show too.
And he works with another. Let's see, who does he work with? There's a personality, and she's been around a while. Her name is Gabrielle Kreutz, I believe. She used to do she used to do a show for Sports Time Ohio called Beer Money. And the analyst with Sports Time Ohio, Jensen Lewis, used to go out and do this as well. They would go to various bars and ask questions, and if you answered the questions right, you could proceed to let's see, it was something like $25, $50, and then a grand prize of $100. But you had to answer all three of the questions correctly, otherwise you would lose. Whatever you had earned up to that point, So, but she did that. And I think at one point she was probably the in-park host for the Cleveland Guardians or Indians at the time. I think she used to do their closed circuit broadcasts. So what was the name of the network you said that all these folks work from? It's down by Brook Lake from Airport. What's it called?
Big Play.
Big Play. That's it. It. Because Bally's, at least around here, takes a lot of Big Play podcasts, and they air them live when they need to fill airtime.
They take all pre-produced programming from other people, because like they have Akron Zips show, on there. That's that's recorded by the university. They have Kent State Golden Flashes thing where they air something that was produced by the Golden Flashes, but they're able to air that when they're not airing Guardians Rewind.
Right.
So.
Okay, Big Play. That's the company.
That's probably one of the biggest local podcast network that's out there.
I think if I was going to watch or listen to any of them, it would probably be that one that the Kelsey brother does.
Oh, yeah.
That'd have to be good.
I think it's called the Heights podcast.
Yeah.
I've been seeing watching so many clips of that on Facebook lately. That looks so entertaining. I would love to have Jason on because Travis. I also heard Travis might retire, so I don't know. One of the Kelsey brothers is probably going to retire.
Well, the one that plays with the Eagles.
Jason.
Yeah, that's Jason. He's the older brother, and he's been around the league a little while longer. So.
No, I saw something today that Travis might retire if him and Taylor get married, which allegedly they're supposed to get married this summer. So if him and Taylor Swift get married, then he might retire. I don't know. Yeah, I did see about Jason.
It wouldn't be like they ain't got enough money.
Yeah. She'll be a billionaire by herself in 10 years.
She already is. Sure is. Her dad is a stockbroker, and he set unlike we're gonna go off the rails here a little bit, but that's no problem. Hey. Unlike Britney Spears and her dad, who screwed her royally with this conservatorship, I think that Taylor's father, he's a stockbroker, set her up so that she was completely emancipated, by a certain age, and that money is hers to do with as she sees fit. But her dad had advised her to do that, and from what I'm, I guess we don't know the inside details, but it sounds to me like Taylor's father actually was looking out for her in stark contrast to Brittany's father, who frankly was looking for a pot of gold to put his hands into. And while that's what happened, in fact, Brittany has said, "I'm never going to record again." She doesn't want to play music. Well,
good move by her.
Yeah.
If she's going to get screwed like that, then stick it to her dad and don't record. Usually I wouldn't ever say stick it to your parent, but in Britney Spears' case, I do. So.
All right, guys, it's getting that time, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is 10 after 9.
Turned out being a pretty good show tonight.
So, so we could do promos for the upcoming shows. Four Guys on Sports, Saturday morning, 11 to noon. Are we going to do a show this week for Radioactive, Pat?
I'm not 100% sure at the moment. It's going to be... I got Winter Field Day this weekend.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And if I come back I'll probably come home to sleep, so that's not going to be an issue. But if I get back after tearing everything down, and we'll see what happens. I just have to see what I feel like when we get home. It's over at 2 o'clock, and it should be about an hour to tear down. So we'll see what happens.
So, just so everybody knows, Radioactive is up in the air. Follow
the Crooked River Radio page, and we'll announce it. We'll announce it there like we usually do.
And before we sign off, make sure we give our audience the answer to that question about the personal computer.
What
Oh
question?
yeah.
What question? What question? Oh, that question.
No.
The one you just asked us a little bit ago. That
All right. The question was, who or what family, what TV family show was the first one ever to have a home computer? It was. Wait a minute. The Addams Family.
Okay. Interesting.
It was. They were the first ones. I actually got a little bit of a thing on my phone about this thing. But
I actually thought it would be something like the Jetsons, so I had the right era. It's just that is rather unlikely, though. That the Addams Family.
let me read you this thing. You'll be kind of surprised with it. I just got to get there. All right, come on, Facebook. Give me. Okay, it says you may need this answer for on Jeopardy someday. The Addams Family was the first TV family to have a home computer. A couple years later, Bruce Wayne would utilize the Bat computer in the Batcave. But the first family PC ever seen on TV was the Univac on the Addams Family.
Interesting.
And they show
Very
a picture of it. It says, as you can see, it's not it's not exactly a laptop.
No. It's. Yep. One of those. Was that one of the big, like, floor to ceiling computers?
Yeah, it was about half the size of that. But it was the Addams Family. Who knew? I was cruising through trying to find material for the show the other night, and I just somehow I happened to stop on this thing. I thought, man, that's pretty good. I'm gonna have to save it. So
that's something we could use again. Because if people happen to not be listening, which I hope you are, thank you for listening, people. But if people aren't listening tonight and listen on Sundays, then that might be something we want to throw out again Sundays.
Well, I did a net tonight, amateur radio net. I had 10 people check in. The only one that got it right was Keith.
Oh, of course.
I was surprised, and he was surprised too, because he told me later, he said that was just a complete guess. He said, I didn't know. So that was the size of that.
Some people just get lucky sometimes with guesses. But anyway, so with that, I will wrap up. I'll probably be live on my YouTube channel sometime this week. So if you are interested, follow me at Nanosecond Media on Facebook, Twitter/X, or Instagram, and I'll let you guys know when I feel like we need to use the Crooked River Twitter more, because that would, I feel like, get us more people. But anyway, or post there more. But anyway, that's just a tidbit that we can talk about off air. But with that, as the saying goes, it's time to be like a hockey player and get the puck out of here.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Pittsburgh!